everybody. Welcome to Barrons Life. Today we're actually going to try a new recipe. We're going to do two recipes for wild turkey. Two ways that I like to prepare it. We're going to try some different things. A new spin on wild turkey, but healthy living, healthy eating wild game, and it'll be some of the turkeys we harvested earlier this year. So the first way we're going to prepare our wild turkey is we're going to use the thighs of the wild turkey. We're going to boil them down and make that into a turkey and rice similar to chicken and rice. And then I'm going to take the breast of the wild turkey and I'm actually going to slice it and cut it up into chunks or cubes, and we're going to fry it very similar to like nuggets or chicken nugget. Now, if you've watched my vlogs before, you know I'm a big advocate for wild game. Successful harvest and then using the entire animal as much as you can anyway. And so this is a way of completing that cycle, a true organic experience, organic food, etc. So let's get our turkey out, let's get it cleaned up. We'll do that real quick and then we'll be ready to start cooking. Now what we're beginning with is a wild turkey breast. Okay, so this is half the breast. Any fat like this we're going to trim off, any extra skin, and then if you can kind of see, I call this right here gray skin. This is a type of ligament or tendon that's on the outside of the muscle. And so I always try and cut as much of that off as I can because it makes wild game tough. Now if we flip this over, we can see that we have a little bit on the bottom. It's not quite as bad. And then here is essentially, this is like a tenderloin. So we're going to trim that off and trim it up. But that right there is the most tender piece. So we're going to clean all this stuff up. Anything that's extra on the edges, any fat. And we're going to get all that cleaned up, and then we're going to marinate this actual breast. We're going to fry this. We're going to marinate it for 45 minutes to an hour before we cook it to give it a little bit of flavor, come up with our own original marinade, and it'll be very good. Now, anytime you're dealing with wild game, you want to make sure that you start off with a very sharp knife. It makes the experience that much better. So you can get rid of all this stuff, come in here and just kind of go underneath your gray skin, as I call it. And just take that off. My dad has a really good way of saying this when dealing with wild game preparation. He said, if you don't want to eat it, take it off. And it's a very simple way of saying it, but very true in the fact that I don't necessarily want to eat this, and I'm going to go ahead and take it off, remove it, and get it cleaned up, ready to cook. Let's get rid of that. Again, just kind of pull it up. You can kind of slide your knife underneath it and then just kind of butterfly or fillet it off. You don't have to get it all, but get as much as you can. Take this fat off right here. Again, good sharp. I like a flexible knife as well. I don't like a stiff knife. Anytime I'm dealing, just about anytime, especially with fish or turkey, I like to have a flexible knife, venison, things like that. Now, when you take the turkey breast apart, you're going to wind up with the tenderloin, and then you're going to have this piece of muscle. And if you notice, there's a ligament that runs right down the center of this, and I like to separate it off of this muscle, and it just makes it easier to clean. But we've about got these ready. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across the grain. You can kind of see the grain of the meat. I'm going to try and zoom in right here. You can see the grain of the meat running up and down. And so what I'm going to try and do is slice this across. And now I'm going to take that and I'm just going to kind of chunk it up into pieces or nuggets that you would think of. Just like if you go to Chick-fil-A and you get chicken nuggets, it's the same principle. You will get a more tender piece of turkey if you slice it across the grain. And then obviously cutting out these ligaments and tendons makes a big difference as well. Anybody you've ever talked to that says, I just don't like wild game, or it was strong, or it was gamey, most likely they didn't take the time to prepare it correctly. And if you do take the time, it makes a really big difference and it creates a really good finished product. Now as I take this strip, so this is like a turkey strip right here, I'm literally just going to slice it, and what you come up with are just these kind of uniform chunk pieces. The more uniform you make them, the easier it is to cook them. So we're going to get it all sliced up, and then we'll do a little bit of marinade. Okay, so turkey sliced up. That is 1/2 of a turkey breast. It's ready to be marinated. I don't like to use a lot of liquid when I'm marinating turkey, so I'm gonna kind of whip something up. A little bit of honey, some mustard, and maybe a couple of little things, but just kind of marinate it in what you like. Something fairly mild, like my brother-in-law loves Italian dressing. So that's just another thing you could do. So I do a dash red wine vinegar, put a little bit of mustard on it. I squeeze some honey in. I'm gonna do a splash of a little bit of barbecue sauce. And then the last thing, my personal favorite, is hot sauce. In this case, I'm hit it with some tiger sauce. Give it a little bite. So, got everything in there. Just gonna kind of give it a good little mixing. Get it good mixed up. Gonna work it into the meat a little bit. So that'll be a great seasoning, great flavor, good color. Looks really good. We're gonna let that sit for 45 minutes to an hour. And then we'll be ready to cook. So our turkey breast is marinating. We've got everything done there. We're gonna get our thighs out. We're gonna clean them up just like we did before and get ready to start boiling them and cooking them down for our turkey and rice. Now, if you notice a turkey thigh, it is much darker. It is a dark meat, just like on a chicken, in comparison to the breast. Now, we've got the gray skin on the outside. We're gonna clean that off just like before. On the bottom, there's not as much, but we're just gonna get these cleaned up and ready to go. We're gonna boil them for anywhere from probably 45 minutes to an hour, get them real nice and tender, and then we're gonna pull them, and then we'll cook our rice. Now, the rice that I use is usually some type of a wild rice. This is just a blended rice. It's pretty good. Add some seasoning to it, and you're pretty much ready to go. Okay, so these are cleaned up. You know, they're fairly well cleaned up. And pretty much they're ready to go in, and we're gonna boil those for, like I say, 45 minutes to an hour till everything's nice and tender. It should just essentially fall off the bone. Season them pretty heavy, and they're ready to go. So we've got everything marinated up, and we're ready to start frying some of our turkey breast. What I'm gonna do is actually take it out of the marinade. I'm gonna get some of the marinade off of it. I'll hit it with a little bit of seasoning. You can do, I just usually do like a little touch of black pepper, maybe a little bit of salt, but that's really it. I don't do much to it. I'm gonna roll around some flour, and we're gonna get it cooking. I'm gonna do flour first, and then I'm gonna try some with some panko breadcrumbs, just to kind of try the difference. I've done it before. The flour's good, the breadcrumbs burn a little bit, so I'll do them at the end. Our turkey is ready to be floured. So we're gonna take 6-8 pieces. We're just gonna basically kick them around in the flour and just get good coating on them. A couple more. I just added some seasoning to the flour, a little salt, pepper, a little Cajun seasoning. And so they are good to go. So we are cooking with avocado oil. It's one of the healthier oils. We've got around 1 inch of oil in our pan. So we're just gonna set it in and let it start cooking. Just like frying chicken. Chicken nuggets, same thing. Now while they're cooking, I like to take a fork and just kind of roll them over to try and get all sides nice and crispy. And then they'll just kind of start to float when they're done. Okay, so we're all done cooking, got everything done, and it looks great. Our turkey turned out awesome. Everything's nice and brown, pretty, and it tastes absolutely delicious. So we're gonna go ahead and eat dinner, and then I'm gonna finish the turkey and rice. I'm gonna go ahead and pull those thighs, and then we'll cook it with the rice, and we'll finish up our 2 recipes. But so far, so good. So we have cooked our turkey thighs down, and we're letting them cool, and we're just gonna start pulling them apart and just kind of shredding it down. It's a very simple process. There's just one simple bone in them, but we're gonna go ahead and shred this real quick, Again, let them cool because they'll be super hot when they first come out. So our rice is cooking. Anytime you make turkey and rice, when you cook down the legs or the thighs, make sure you save the stock that you make. Save that stock and use it to make your rice. It'll add a little bit extra flavor to it. So we got our rice on, we're cooking. Anytime you make wild rice, I always add about an extra half a cup to a cup of water just to keep it from being completely and totally dry. So it's got a little bit of extra moisture. You'll talk to different people that turkey hunt. Some people save the thighs, some don't. This is a nice pile of meat as you bone the thighs out. To me, it's a waste to throw them away. It is a darker meat for sure compared to the breast meat that we cooked before, but it's still very tasty. It's very good. It's very lean. It's, again, very healthy meat. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that in just a moment and combine it with our rice and make our turkey and rice. Get everything combined in there, cooking along. So we're going to leave it alone for 15 minutes and we'll be done. Our rice is all done. Turkey and rice complete. So it turned out really good, looks great. I'm going to give it a little taste test here and see what we got. Okay, what do you think? Try it.
It's good.
It's good? You like it? All right, cool. Success. I like it. Very good. So that wraps up a Monday afternoon and 2 really good turkey recipes. I'm an advocate for any time you take a wild animal, use as much as possible. So in this case, we cooked half a turkey breast, fried, and it was really, really good. And then boiled, boned out, and made the turkey and rice with the thighs. And turkey and rice is excellent. It's very good. Highly recommend. You can use any type of rice you want. My wife, whenever she makes chicken and rice, likes yellow rice. I like the wild rice. It doesn't really matter. You can use any type of rice that you prefer. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the recipes for cooking wild game. That'll wrap up this edition of Barron's Life. Please subscribe to the channel and like our videos. More coming soon. Catch you guys next time. Thanks. Good night.